Hello, good afternoon. You're watching the Policy Times exclusive show on sustainability. I am Akram Haq. With me, I have Dr. Vesam from Malaysia and a beautiful panel of three speakers connecting from different parts of the world. Policy Times, as a development media, working in policy advocacy, working towards achieving better and prosperous nation and world, we have taken sustainability as one of our priority areas to talk. When we talk about sustainability, we cannot underestimate the global vision set by the world organizations, including United Nations, and set the vision in the name of sustainability development goals. That is SDG. SDGs has given a complete new direction to the world towards making it a better place for living. And as you see in the screen, these SDGs, there are 17 SDGs, 17 goals set by United Nations. Number one goal is no poverty. Number two is zero hunger. Number three is global health and well-being. Number four is quality education. Number five is gender equality. Number six, clean water and sanitation. Number seven, affordable and clean energy. Number eight, decent work and economic growth. Number nine, industry, innovation and infrastructure. Number 10, reduced inequality. Number 11, sustainable cities and communities. Number 12 is responsible consumption and production. Number 13 is climate action. Number 14 is life below water. Number 15 is life on land. Number 18 is peace and justice and strong institutions. And number 17 is partnerships for the goals. All of them are important in their own sphere, but today the first topic we have chosen is the SDG number one is no poverty. Poverty is the biggest mistake, biggest crime, biggest injustice that any society, any nation can offer to its people. So there is no, so I just read one line which says that, eradicating poverty is not an act of charity, it is an act of justice. So any nation which has failed to eradicate poverty from its land has actually doing injustice to its people. So any nation, there cannot be any excuse or any reason or any explanation for not eradicating poverty. But as we say that, actually, in 1990, there were almost, as I see the statistics, by United Nations, 36% population of the world were below poverty line. Now, this has slightly improved in recent time, as we saw in 2015. The poverty line decreased to almost 10%, but again, due to the global pandemic that the world has witnessed recently, the recent statistics by the same organization says that global poverty has been increased by 8%, a whopping 8% in the world. Almost half a billion, means 500 million plus people now have entered into poverty. So as we began, poverty can be the biggest injustice in the world. So it also gives an indication that once a nation brought a section of people out of poverty, the same section of people can again go below the poverty line by any global pandemic. And COVID-19 has been the biggest witness of the history. So today we will talk on SDG 1, and we have a wonderful panelist to talk on this from different part of the world. We have Dr. Vesam, President of Youth Impact and Sustainability, and also part of a Malaysian university there. And we have a beautiful panel of three speakers. I will request all our speakers to introduce themselves in just 1 or 2 minutes, and then we enter into the subject. So I want to request the leader, chairman, on also the main mastermind of this series. So Policy Times, and we have planned to come up with a series of 17 such episodes to talk on all 17 goals that United Nations has brought in. I would request Dr. Vesam to give an intro remark of the series that we have planned, and then we'll go to our speakers to share their views.
Okay, Mr. Akram, thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon and good morning as well to Ms. Caroline. So actually, we plan a series of forums on the Sustainable Development Goals, which is part of the collaboration between the Impact of Sustainability and Policy Times. And we started those activities last year in April. We conducted various workshops and conferences to promote sustainability, and where we brought people from academia, from industry, and policymakers to discuss various topics. And those series that we are conducting, we will be conducting this year. It will be on the SDGs. We will discuss the SDG from 1 to 17, where we are bringing panelists from various backgrounds to discuss the subject matter and to see how we can contribute to achieve those goals. And also we are trying to learn very different experiences from different countries, and that will also be part of the sharing of experiences and knowledge between the countries, and definitely that will contribute to implementing a more sustainable lifestyle. Thank you so much, Mr. Akram, and thanks for the panelists as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wesam. I want to come to our panelists straight to New York. Caroline, your view on SDG 1, the success, the achievements, the challenges, and the way forward.
Yes. So, hello, my name is Caroline. As Akram said, I am in New York. It is 4 a.m. over my time. My background is in sustainability consulting. It particularly launched off during COVID, and SDG 1 is one of the SDGs that I find the most frustration with, especially being a New Yorker, because during COVID, it was just heartbreaking to see how many homeless people there were around New York City with no place to go, especially as winter started hitting. When I was a student at Harvard University and undergraduate a couple of years ago, Boston, Cambridge, not much better with the poverty situation. And I was telling the panel earlier that it is a horrible, horrible shame that they are becoming part of the landscape, the urban landscape, and it's not how it should be. SDG 1 is one of the goals that should be a priority, that to eradicate poverty is the ultimate uplifting of your fellow human, and partnerships and leveraging your networks in order to make that happen would be the best way to make that possible. But nobody is talking about this quite as seriously as we should be addressing it. So those are just my initial thoughts on SDG 1, but I very much look forward to the discussion to follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Caroline. I want to come to Dr. Anis, if you can unmute. The question that the very obvious question, though we have been talking about eradicating poverty, the entire world, all politicians, all bureaucrats, all civil society servants or people, even the normal civilians have been talking about eradicating poverty, but we are still struggling to do it. So what can be the basic common mistakes that we are making, and how do we actually address this issue?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Akram. Yeah, SDG number 1, no poverty. Everybody is trying to achieve it during 2030. Yeah, and I think a lot of actions are already taken as a mission to achieve these visions. Okay. However, as you say, is that there are still numbers of poverty, and the percentage, although is decreasing, but the case is still alarming. Okay, so for me, based on my experience, maybe there are 2 things that we have to see. Yeah, because why it's happened. Yeah, why it is happened, and we can see that the tremendous changes in poverty. Yeah? For example, when the tragedy of a pandemic COVID coming, yeah, before this in Malaysia or in Kelantan at my state, yeah, we don't hear about no plates, no foods on plate, yeah, we don't hear about assimilations of technology. Yeah, but during COVID, everything changed. Yeah, people become poorer. Yeah, the poor become poorer because of the economics. Everybody is very, very be careful in spending, and then especially the we call it B40, B40 that involved in business venturing. Yeah, they just normally selling and buying like that. Yeah, and didn't expose to the technology. So this event, the critical events such as COVID, the changes of technology, contributes to the process of being poor. Yeah. So this is what I see from my case in Kelantan. Yeah. And then the other things is because of the history, where our place, we have a tobacco planting, so a lots of poisonous. So, for example, we wonder why at this village so many people that get cancer. Yeah, so because of pandemic, then the foundation changed the way of business. Yeah, the cooperation changed the way of business, enter into the agriculture, and then we found out that why the animal dying, and finally we do the test, and we found out that the water is poisoning. So, as a social entrepreneur, as a human being, we have to be sensitive to the environment. Otherwise, we cannot capture, because me is a medium, the medium income. And the community of lower B40 income is different community. So if we are stay at our community and not involved in their community, we are not sensitive and we don't know what are their problems. Yeah? Sometimes when I did the training, I heard that people say, oh, you cannot change this B40 mindset. Yeah. But if you involve with them, they want to change. They want to get out from the poverty, but they don't know how. Okay, so there is the problems that, the challenge that happening in my country, especially that's involved in my activity of social entrepreneur.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Anis. Actually, poverty is the biggest crime that any nation can commit, and unless countries address it that seriously, I don't know, even God would not forbid that those politicians, those nations, or those leaders. I want to come to the most important panelist here, Dr. Sanghya. Dr. Sanghya, you belong to the region which has the highest number of poor in the world. I think 40% of the world's poor live in South Asia, India and Indian neighboring countries. Now, given your experience working in this society, how have you seen the common reasons of failure in addressing poverty issue in South Asia, and what are the action agenda that this government, these policies, these politicians have in place? And we are though fighting. There is also a sizable number of people who are coming out of poverty, but still it is the largest in the world.
Yes.
Your experience, the South Asian
Yes, yes. Can I share my screen?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
So please make it in bullet points, doctor, so that we save
Yes.
and we make it interactive.
Yes. Can you see the PowerPoint slides?
Yes, we can see.
Yes, so my study is based on India, that concepts, trends, and future opportunities to overcome policy poverty. So you are asking about definition of poverty and poverty line. So World Bank defines poverty as deprivation in well-being comprising many dimensions. It includes low income and the inability to acquire the basic goods and services necessary for survival with dignity. Poverty elimination has remained a major challenge in recent years in Southeast Asia and lies at the core of India's national development agenda. So India has undertaken periodic assessment of the incidence of poverty since 1960s. So you can see the poverty, elimination of poverty or poverty line, or what should be the exact poverty for exact per capita income that was studied from 1901 in India. So now sustainable development goals are becoming very important in regarding this matter. So research in poverty is not new in India. First, Dadabhai Naoroji in 1867-68 prices, he studied about this, and the National Planning Committee said in 1938 and again in 1944 studied about poverty, what should be our goal. And now poverty elimination in India is studied in every year. So poverty line estimation in India has been based on per capita consumption rather than per capita income, because household expenses are more important on the income than income levels due to difficulties in assessing income of self-employed persons and daily wage laborers. So different working groups were set up to estimate poverty in India, like working groups in 1962, 1971, 1979, 2009 and 2014. So the monthly per capita consumption expenditure is 972 in rural areas, and in India, say 1,407 in urban areas, recommended by 2011-12 prices based on. So the number of poor in the country was estimated to 69.8 million or 21.92% of the population by Planning Commission for 2011-12. And then it is the bar graph I want to show here is the changes or the development of the poverty condition from 1993-94 to 2011-12. Some development in recent years. This was done by in 2015 socioeconomic caste census, and now it is not 22%, but it has been reduced to 12.4% from 2011-12. So India has reduced its poverty rate by 12.4% from 2011-12. It was 21%. According to new data released by World Bank, which identified rural electrification as an important driving force for everything from greater rural spending to schooling of girls mainly. Against the early estimate of 269 million people living below the poverty line, according to Government of India data, India now has 172 million poor people. Now this graph shows the decreasing poverty line of India, and this is based on World Bank data from 1994 to 2012. So about 80% of the poor people in India live in rural areas of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, which are the most India's low income states. They have 45% of India's total population and 62% of the country's total poor population.
Yeah, doctor, if you can summarize in 3 to 4 minutes.
Yes, these are the some state government and central government projects to reduce poverty level in India. So according to economic growth and agricultural and industrial growth, development of infrastructure, human resource development, access to credit to general public, these are the some recommendations which can be done to reduce the poverty level in India.
Excellent. Can you so if you can keep this slide, I would request our other speakers also to highlight and talk a little bit on that. Your last slide, the solutions you brought in. And yeah. If you can keep this, would be great in full screen. I would request Dr. Vesam also to give a little light on this, and Dr. Anis and Caroline, if you can also talk a little about this, a little emphasis.
Sure. So I would have to agree definitely with the speedy development of infrastructure. Part of the largest problem of poverty just globally is that during COVID, migrant women are primarily serving their communities as being the primary healthcare workers, thus endangering not only themselves, but the communities that they live in poverty. And they aren't given access to equal healthcare. They aren't given access to equal housing and sanitary conditions to take care of their children and families and properly desanitize after serving their medical duties. And this is a big problem. So creating facilities that have that water security, that have that appropriate healthcare setup that they can properly treat their patients, having the PPE, I think that is very important. Also, just developing infrastructure and housing across the board, somehow partnering with the government or private enterprises to sponsor. There are so many empty hotel rooms in New York to sponsor hotel rooms so that these people are not out in the cold. I'm sure around the world there can be something equal to that in terms of public-private partnerships. I would also have to agree with accelerating economic growth, but also tag on to that innovatively educating those populations on how they can become social entrepreneurs themselves. So something that one of my organizations that I've partnered with, the Youth Sustainability Development Conference, is doing is they are challenging African young innovators across the continent basically to obtain this quality education from our conference planning, from the workshop and career and skills building workshops that I have developed a curriculum for, and learn from that, learn about the SDGs, learn how they are applicable and accessible to everyone, and they should be recognized as such, and then use those socio-entrepreneurial skills that they learn in order to either drive their own enterprises or to fight their way into the workforce that they currently don't have access to. It's insane that Africa's population is 60% youth and young young individuals, and they cannot get jobs because that unheard of. So to summarize those points, I think again, public-private partnerships to fund housing and equal healthcare conditions, providing innovative educations, and creating those decent work conditions that not only young professionals but everyone who is suffering from poverty can use to empower and uplift themselves to get these skills in order to become self-reliant and resilient to these conditions.
Excellent. Dr. Anis, you talked about social entrepreneurship. I want to bring in one important aspect because in this era of capitalism, this is the era of capitalism, and there is too much of focus on capitalism, which is nothing wrong. So it is also promoting entrepreneurship and innovation in the process. On my humble, urge to the world community, Dr. Sanghamitra, please keep this slide there because we will talk a little more on this because this is the most important part of the discussion. What I mean to say that gradually we see less interest in social sectors and more interest towards businessization of every sector, capitalization or businessization of the society. What I want to see that education is not a business sector. Education we can do business, but it is a basic human right. So now whether we bring civil society, we bring business, we bring entrepreneurship, we bring the government or policymakers on board, but the ultimate objective is we have to provide affordable, accessible education for all. That's the end objective. So that is one. Similarly, poverty eradication. Similarly, economic growth. Economic growth is no longer just a normal phenomena. It is the biggest poverty eradication tool that any society can accept. So economic growth, capitalism might not be a solution to economic growth always. Nation like China has grown tremendously in a complete communist or socialist fabric. Similarly, different country adopts different model of economic growth, but that has to be brought in. Dr. Anis, I want to have your opinion on social entrepreneurship because entrepreneurship and job creation are the very basic fundamental solution to kill poverty. Now, job creation, one secret of job creation is economic growth. Entrepreneurship and especially social entrepreneurship has much impact in the poverty eradication struggle or battle than any other thing possible. your view on how social entrepreneurship is working in the Southeast Asian part of the world in terms of addressing this issue.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Akram. Okay, when we talk, we cannot segregate from commercial enterprise, social enterprise, governments, and the entity around this. Yeah, for me, it's like telling a story. So, who is the actors in this poverty eradications? What is the role or the responsibility of these actors? Yeah, so in Malaysia, we have already, the policy, what the policy supports the emergence of the social entrepreneur. We have MAGIC, we have Ministry of Entrepreneurships and Cooperative, yeah? And cooperative is one of the vehicles that can help eradications of the poverty, yeah? So who is the person, who is the actors in this drama and in reducing the poverty? Yeah? First, the individual. Yeah, the individual. So we is not only the government or the institutions, but also the individual, especially youth. Yeah, because the main actors here is the SE, yeah, social enterprise. Yeah, so within the continuum of social entrepreneurship, we have NGOs, the commercial entities. Yeah. So when the social enterprise want to grow, which is the purpose is at the same time, gain the money or the profit, and at the same time, the purpose is to help the marginalized people, to contribute to the green or whatever. So these actors, yeah, the main role of the main actors, which is social entrepreneurship, must be supported by the commercial entity and also the governments and NGOs such as the foundations. Yeah. So if looking from what we do in UMK, and also because UMK is University for Society itself, yeah, indicates the social enterprise, helping the society. Yeah. So what we do, especially because in entrepreneurship, it's not a linear process. We cannot prepare, business plan, which is 60 pages or whatever, because especially in current situations, it's a sudden event. It's a sudden circumstances that we have to react promptly. We cannot wait. Okay, so what we do here is if we can tell, the phenomena is about it's like the ripple effect theory. Yeah, so we throw one stone in the water and it splash. Yeah, it's not a domino theory. Yeah, it's splash. So so for example, in my case, yeah, when I told you just now that when we start that we get to know that there are one family that no foods in their plate for maybe 1 to 3 days. Yeah, this is because no communications. Yeah, no communication. But we come to know, and then the foundation take charge. Yeah, take charge, and we connect. Yeah, we connect with the agency, the state, and we connect with the commercialized people, entity or business, and in 1 day or 2 days after we know the event, everything settled. Everybody helps. Yeah. So once we know that, we go to the place and we interview the family, and we get to know that the lack of education or whatever, and because of the pandemic, they have to use the like phone, like data and everything. So what we, yeah, as a SE, social enterprise, we gather all the resources, yeah, to help them. So Alhamdulillah, they are on the right track now. Yeah. So how it's become a ripple effect. Yeah. Because of that, yeah, we come to know that they have an issue about the water cleanness. Yeah. So what we do is we create we call it wakaf, water wakaf, or is like a charity and the endowment.
Right.
Yeah. And who built that? Yeah, me and my team as a SE, we draw the money from the commercial entity. Okay, and we link to the state government, we link to the agency in government, and we create it. All right, and because of the incident, yeah, it cannot be generalized. Yeah, it's only one family, but we don't want it happen again. So we create a program that we call it food for sharing. Yeah, we took this concept from Australian university. They call it as food for community. So they can come, take the food, no question asked. Yeah, and then because of that, we came to know that they have a lack of access to the internet. They don't have device for the technology, and then they even don't have a proper clothes. So we create a charity shop for them. And this happenings is only in a local entity. Yeah. So we hope that this model can be, this is become domino effect. Yeah. This model can be used to other community or villages because each problem is different. Yeah, the culture is different, the problem is different, so we have to solve it differently, and the resources also different, so we have to act promptly. We cannot wait. Yeah, and then we can solve this this problem, or we can help to eradicate this poverty one by one. So I believe that with the patience, yeah, with the patience, we can achieve this issue, yeah, and solve this issue. Okay.
I want to come to Dr. Sangamitra and Dr. Vesam here, and I want to come back to the very, out of this global, like macro concept, to the very basic one, that United Nations has come up with the SDGs. How has SDGs been able to contribute in eradicating poverty globally? What has been the successes, and what has also been the challenges for or failures of SDG in terms of addressing this issue? So maybe Dr. Sangamitra and Dr. Vesam, a little light on this.
Okay, Mr. Akram, I think I want to comment here on two points. The first one is about, the local aspects of poverty. Like, from my experience, if I want to compare two places, I'm originally from Palestine and I study and work in Malaysia for several years. So I can consider, the factors, the reasons, even the levels, and sometimes we are talking about the causes of poverty. So now we know that there are some global factors, and maybe it was complicated by the effect of the COVID-19. But like, if I want to talk about the scenario in Palestine, so we know that there is an ongoing conflict. There is the Israeli occupation, which affects the life of people over here in Palestine. And this is adding more complications, because when you talk about creating jobs, you need a stability, right? And definitely you need funding, which is, these are kind of the main challenges over here. So it is linked with the opportunities. Like, there is an opportunity in Malaysia. It's much easier than finding it in Palestine. And maybe if you want to compare another example, like in India, where you have like mega cities and you have billions of people, so that will add more complications to the issue of poverty, and how to find ways to reduce the percentage of people who are under the line of poverty. And I think the second point is, I agree with the recommendation given for the Indian scenario, but I think we need to add before each item a sustainable economic growth, or we are talking about any other aspect. It has to be sustainable, because you don't want to create jobs or to increase the economic growth, which will have a more negative impact on the environment. So there will be an imbalance, because you are getting some profits on one side, but you are paying a lot on the environmental damage, on the health damages being done, and that is not really shown when unless you are thinking about the issue with a holistic approach and looking on it in a holistic, what is the impact that you create. Because I always can see, and I give that example always about air pollution. So sometimes you ease the regulations on the industry because you want to give them freedom and create more jobs. Because people believe that if they put more pressure, that might slow the economic growth. But at the other side, you are creating a lot of pollution, a lot of emission, and that causes a lot of suffering to people dying. You are paying a lot of money on the health sector to treat those people, and that affect the productivity, both in the agriculture or other aspects of even the material. So that should be kind of a holistic approach. To eradicate the poverty, we have to create a sustainable economic growth, so that we balance all the pillars of sustainability and avoid creating more problems to the community.
Thank you. Dr. Sanghamitra.
Yes, the United Nations for Sustainability Development Goal on poverty created awareness among all people that we should do something. We should do we should think about to stop poverty in our country, because during COVID, which India before COVID, India had a stable economic growth. Poverty was decreasing, but after COVID, suddenly there was a change. There was a change, and many people lost their job. So, but the awareness they have, that we should give pressure on policymakers, that we have right to get jobs, and there no one can stop poverty, but it is a holistic approach. If more people join hands together and creates pressure, that many jobs can be created in our country. We have enough resources, we have physical resources, we have technological resources, but more people, awareness is the most important thing, that people should join hands together to
Right.
yes,
So
to
partnership.
give policymakers to create more jobs in this in different aspects of life.
Thank you. I want to come to Caroline. Every time I come to you, I see your face. I feel a little sorry and guilty that at 4 p.m., 4 a.m. in the night, when you should have the deep sleep, you are here. And it is sheer due to your passion, maybe on the subject topic, and your interest on this to talk. Now, a very pertinent question. If anyone can solve this problem, I think it is the youth which has to take the leadership. We cannot expect the other, because the others are doing their job, but it is youth of the world who can change it. Now, I want to know from you, how do we how do we engage youth into this fight? How do we actually make them the real frontliner stakeholder in leading this battle?
I laugh for two reasons. One, they're already engaged.
Oh,
They're already there. They already want to be heard. But the second point, it's not just youth. It needs to be an intergenerational dialogue. It needs to be a partnership on both sides, because youth are there. Youth acknowledge that this problem exists. Youth are suffering from it too. But the people who are in power need to be willing to talk to the youth and to listen to them. And we've obviously seen that happen over the last couple of years with the rise of Greta Thunberg. But, you know, more and more youth, particularly during COVID, are taking the initiative to take those necessary steps, starting their own social enterprises, starting their own B Corps, to get more involved, to address these issues that see on a day-to-day basis. And honestly, to my point earlier about partnerships and leveraging your networks, I started my most significant work during COVID, and I only started entering the UN sphere 2 years ago, after I graduated college. I was always a fan of volunteering, but it wasn't until after college that I learned about sustainability in the first place. And when I started to look at my networks, look at who I know, I just saw opportunities everywhere to incorporate everyone, to engage the dialogue, just to start a conversation. And that's what I encourage all youth to do. Like, what's bothering you in your community? What are your skills? How can we collaborate on this and make something meaningful come out of it? You yourself, you're doing the Policy Times, you're creating this SDG series. Wonderful. So is my UNA Brooklyn group. Amazing. How do we get it to the next step? How do we put the pressure on politicians? How do we make them see this is an issue? And how do we make the youth voices heard? Just start exactly doing what you're doing now and just uplift youth. Uplift them, encourage them, make them part of the dialogue. Always have a youth on the panel. So thank you very much for that. But it is critical. I cannot emphasize enough that it becomes an intergenerational dialogue, and people should not look to youth to solve the issue. Everyone has the skills, everyone has the knowledge, everyone has the connections. And I guarantee you, like LinkedIn, 2, 3, 4 connections later, you have the person you need. So just continue observing your own networks, continue utilizing your skill sets to the best of your ability. And again, only together can we really achieve Agenda 2030.
Excellent. Thank you. I think I have a very deep-rooted question connected to this, but because you all represent youths, I think youth, that group, I want to take your comment on this question from all of you. So, Dr. Anis, how do we engage youth? So the same question remains for all three panelists. Yeah, you got to unmute, Dr. Anis.
So youth, they stay at the education territory. Yeah. So mostly in Malaysia, yeah, students who came to the university, yeah, they hope they can get job. Yeah. But the policy have changed from job seeking to the job creations. So everybody at the universities strive to achieve the numbers, the increasing number of job creations. So in UMK, we train the student from year 1, even semester 1. Yeah. So we have 4 subjects across the faculty. It's not only in the business faculty, but also in the engineering faculty or creative technology faculty. So this is 4 pillars or 4 foundations that they have to learn and practice it, which is one is about fundamental of entrepreneurship, and the second is entrepreneurship behavior. And the third one is strategy entrepreneurship. And last one is the innovation, yeah, management innovation. So everything in entrepreneurship that promotes their capabilities, yeah. So when they are doing their business right now, yeah, from year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, so they are ready when they go out from the university. So the unemployment issue can be covered. And once you have the entrepreneur mindset, everything settles, because you know how to solve problem, you know how to, take limited resources as an entrepreneur. You have to be able to use the limited resources. So this foundation is very, very important, yeah, for the youth, yeah. And for the people outside the university, especially for the groups that belongs to the poverty groups, yeah, we already communicate, or we already have a program with in Kelantan. We have we call it is MAI or Majlis Agama Islam and Adat Istiadat. So this agency, state agency, give the working capital to the B40, yeah, to create their business. So university takes the role to train this. And this is a success story for us, yeah, because from poverty, they can move it, they can step up from the poverty after they attending the training, but is a handhold around 1 year and a half. And after COVID, everything changed. The previous competency is not enough. So the other competency that we have to inculcate on them is about digital competency. And then here when the government come in, yeah, the government come in, especially Ministry of Finance, under the UMK MOF Social Enterprise Project, we give the trainings that relates to the digital entrepreneurships, or the ability to understand or to use the social media as a marketing, or to use the platform, or to use the like Grab, Food Panda, everything. So help them to increase their sales. So they can still maintain, even this is the third round of the COVID. So for us, it's a successful story. Okay.
Dr. Sangamitra.
Yes. So many NGOs in our locality started their work after COVID, that they should gather more people, poor people, and they started working with local resources, that they started the data. First, we should gather the data about which ability one person have. He or she knows something, and then the ability can be used to create a productive thing, that he or she can earn something for his livelihood. So we actually, we in our institution, we have many departments which gather data, that except study or except one person, the students can do something productive things, like they can make YouTube videos. Some of our students can do some creative things. And then we every year we organize in our institution that some entrepreneurs or some private companies, we invite them each year to make our students to be included in their company. So poverty is a problem, but it can be eliminated by our cumulative effort.
Excellent. Dr. Vesam, because you represent, you are the president of the Youth Impact Sustainability. Your message and voice on how do we engage youth in such global, battle.
Yeah, I think this is very important. And from the experience for the last 6 months, when we started the program of ambassadors of sustainability, so you see the interest from people from different backgrounds, especially with the young people who are interested and motivated to promote sustainability. So in 6 months and next week will be our third cycle of training for the ambassadors of sustainability. Now we are having 7,600 people from one, and this shows the interest and the seriousness of those people to promote sustainability. I think one more crucial point, and this is the responsibility of the academic institutions, the universities, the institutes, to promote sustainability as part of the curriculum, and it should be a university requirement. So people from different backgrounds, from engineering, social science, from economy, they need to understand the basic concepts of sustainability, and that will build up the terminology for the next future. People will start to understand each other, will understand the need of each other, and that will motivate them to implement sustainability later on when they graduate the go to the market. So for example, the civil engineer will be aware about the projects, the activities that they will be involved in, and they have to try, they need to study how to minimize the environmental impacts of the projects. And that is part of the curriculum. That should be part of the curriculum for all the graduates. And even, people with social sense, because we know about we have definitely, everybody understand that we have the three main pillars of sustainability, and that is really needed to be promoted, to be taught to people from all the discipline, so that people will have the opportunity to work together and to understand the challenges. And we know that promoting a sustainable lifestyle, that is the responsibility of everyone.
Excellent. I think excellent view. I would take 4 to 5 minutes and see your reaction to what are my points that I have, and then we'll take the closing comment. What I understood from my experience in last, I think 13, 14 years, is that United Nations has done wonderful work in streamlining, reorienting the global goals of development for a peaceful and prosperous society. It has done tremendously because that is under its reach. It can do. It cannot eradicate poverty of the world because it doesn't have any instruments. It doesn't have any resources. It is a charitable organization. Countries contribute and it tries to execute or do whatever it can within its reach. It tried to engage, involve all governments, countries as much as possible that it could do. I think we had some extraordinary leaders leading the United Nations before, who led successfully, who brought peace in many parts of the world, who also reoriented people towards development in Africa, in Asia. It has given a new dimension. However, the job is far from being over. I mean, job is not even half won, which means the locals would need much aggressive contribution to make it happen, because governments might not take SDGs very seriously because they are busy in their own goals. They have their political agenda to play, whichever country it is. So hence, it is the civil society and a very common man in the country would actually need to connect with the international organizations and push and force governments to implement SDGs, because SDGs have no negative, full of positivity. That is one. The second thing I want to bring in is, after the discussion, the very many points that I got is, the biggest asset of any nation is its human resources. Often politicians and governments misunderstand. They take gold, they take silver, they take land as the main and big resources, and they give those to the corporate houses to run them. So, most of the governments in the world today are run by 2-3 billionaire or multi-billionaires in their country, and they try to bring or make policies that satisfy them the most. Now, this is where the governments also need to understand that the biggest resource or power that any nation has is not the 5 or 10 billionaires. It is actually the common mass. If we can educate it, we can skill it, and we can train it, it doesn't take time to transform the nation's face. And it doesn't take time. It's just a matter of decade. A nation from a poor country can convert into one of the richest countries of the world. Singapore has done it tremendously, wonderfully. I mean, the Gini coefficient, the inequality you see, the sustainability you see in Singapore, the policy aggression you see is wonderful. The politicians, you hardly remember any politician's name except one, but the way the country has managed its people, managed its resources, has been a very excellent example of implementing SDGs. The second part I want to say is that, again, governments are taking social sectors as business. For example, education, for example, healthcare, water, means access to water. These are social goals. You take help of the corporates, but the government cannot take backseat and give totally to the corporates to lead it. Because then, while India being the pharma hub of the world, more than 60% of the population of this country go bankrupt and become poor to meet its basic healthcare expenses. Imagine a family being affected by cancer or a severe disease. the family is bound to go bankrupt by selling their lands, by selling their everything. So what we need to develop is only because the government have not been tremendously or enough successful in building the public infrastructure in right place, so that at least the poor strata or the middle class strata of the families or society can afford medical expenses. So the same story is in America. America might have the best hospitals in the world, but a large portion of the population goes bankrupt because of such a big disease or a chronic disease. So what we urge our people and our government is that your social sectors, for example, water, infrastructure, or education or healthcare, you engage business, there is no harm, but do not make it at the or make it fall prey for the corporates. The other important thing that I want to bring in is job and entrepreneurship are the only sustainable solution. Entrepreneurship, the youth, entrepreneurship and job are interconnected. We need to bring actually entrepreneurs. We don't need billionaires every time, to change the society, but we need entrepreneurs who bring innovation or innovative solution in the society. With this, I want to take the closing comment from all our speakers for this evening. And as we started in the process, Caroline first.
Thank you. Again, I can't keep reiterating this point enough. Eradicating poverty is essential if we are to achieve Agenda 2030. Poverty holds with it so much intersectionality of the other goals of migration, good health and well-being, sustainable cities and communities, food and water security, education, decent work, gender equality, encompasses all of that, but that makes collaboration even easier because this touches everyone's lives in one way or another. The goals touch everyone's lives one way or another. So collaboration, whether it be multilateral governments, public-private partnerships, members of civil society engaging with their government and holding their governments accountable through governance, everyone has the ability to build capacities of communities and help eradicate poverty. Education, as Dr. Wessam said, education at every level needs to incorporate sustainability. We need to view business through the lens of sustainability and approach it with that humanity and the goodwill, because absolutely correct, there are a lot of populations, poverty, children, women, being underutilized as human capital, and we can absolutely make a difference and benefit. Everyone can benefit from this.
Thank you, Dr. Anis.
Yeah, we have to stick to our visions, yeah, for the poverty eradications, yeah. But how to do it? Yeah, how to do it? So, as you said just now, it's about human resource, yeah. It's undeniable, yeah. But we have to inculcate a new skill, new educations, and new mindset for the youth and also the community, yeah. To achieve that, we have to have a collaboration between three actors that I told just now, which is individual, the institutional, and also the governments. Yeah, with these collaborations, we will strive together to reduce or eradicate the poverty. And how to do it? For started, because of the COVID, we have to start using economic locality. Because we cannot ask for outsides coming in, and how you survive the new venture within the locality can help the community. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Sangamitra, closing comment. You have to unmute, Dr. Mitra. Hi, Dr. Adra.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. So now the sustainable goal 1, that eradication of poverty, it is now not only just basic food, but there are many things for sustainable living, that is sanitation, housing, piped water, electricity, education, health, jobs, all are related to human life. But food supply is not sufficient for sustainable living. So we should join hands together. We should collect our young people, that we should make them aware that they have some responsibility to the society, that if we join hands together with our youth population and also our local entrepreneurs and our local authority, then together we can achieve our goals, that we can create jobs, we can do something for our society, that we should then, after sustainable economic living, if anybody has the enough money to for his or her sustainable living, then he or she will be able to think about environment or his surrounding. Otherwise, sustainable environment, a better environmental condition, that is the ultimate goal of sustainable living, we will not be successful to achieve that. So first, sustainable economic living or sustainable economic opportunities, we have to create the path for achieving the goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Vesam, your closing comment for the,
Okay,
can you close the entire thing?
I think all of us agree that, and this is shown by the ranking of the SDG, since it is the first one to eradicate the poverty, because it's linked to the core definition of sustainability, to meet the needs of the people, and not only the people, the current people. We have to think about the future generations as well. But to do that, there should be a lot of efforts to create jobs, sustainable jobs within a stable system, and within a stable system and a safe system, an inclusive community. And that, as we all agree about the crucial role of education to raise people, especially the big decision makers who are thinking about the country planning and also financing projects, to put in the main idea about creating a sustainable economic growth, so that we can create jobs which will reduce the harmful and the negative impacts in the environment. So thank you so much for Mr. Akram and for everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vesam, for organizing such wonderful, webinar. Thank you so much, Caroline. And I can, to return a favor, you can invite us at 4 a.m. in the night for any program that you do.
Like I said, I was already up. I'm happy to do this.
And then thank you, Dr. Anis. Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Sangamitra. Wonderful viewers. If you like the discussion that we did, do subscribe and like our Facebook page. We will bring experts like we had today to discuss on another SDG in a couple of days ahead. And thank you. Keep watching.